Hello and welcome, hope you guys are all well. We're back in Microsoft Flight Simulator for another video, and today is my first chance to carry out a bit of a performance test of Sim Update 15 on the Xbox. I've actually been away on holiday for a couple of weeks, but I'm back and ready to go, so let's get started. And I'm beginning with a quick walk around for you folks that like to check everything over. I've deliberately selected an airport and plane combination that I've never been able to get to work together on previous updates, which is the Draziki Designs Narita International here in Tokyo, which is a very complex scenery, combined with the Asobo 787-10. And as we're in Japan, I've also gone for the best livery in the sim, which is obviously the All Nippon R2-D2 Star Wars livery, which is just insane. So another reason for doing the walk around is that whenever I previously went into the exterior view, let's just check out our fan blades, looking pretty good, and the leading edge as well, make sure there's no dinks. When I previously went into the exterior view at Narita and then hopped back inside the 787, I would instantly get the black screen avionics bug, so it'll be interesting to see how everything works once we've completed our walk around. And let's just check in the back of the engine. All looks fine. Our landing gear, very nice. Basically, they've adjusted how the memory is allocated, which is supposed to improve the performance on console and also reduce the chance of crashes and black screens. Although, as I understand it, there is a bit of a trade-off between stability. Just watch my head on the old APU there, sounding really good. There is a bit of a trade-off between stability and the visual world detail, but we'll have a bit more of a look at that once we're in the air. So let's check our landing gear on the other side. Tyres all look good. Quick look in the other engine as well. Very good. Let's just check our underside of the wing. I've got to say, even just panning around with the drone camera, I am getting way more frames than previously. Hardly any stuttering, so that is pretty promising. And just one last quick check of engine 1. Check its fan blades. Look at that. All looking good. So hopefully, whilst we've been doing our walk around, the first officer has been getting everything set up in the flight deck for us. So let's just take one last look at R2-D2 in all his glory. He's looking very cool, and then we will head inside and check our avionics. Well, we have no black screens, so that is a marked improvement, I have to say. So the first officer's got the APU all up and running for us, so we're ready for pushback. Let's tune into our ground services and request pushback.
Ground ANA 107 requesting pushback.
ANA 107, pushback request accepted.
And parking brake released. And as this is a performance test, I am actually going to be trying to break the avionics, so I'm going to keep hopping outside, hopping back inside, and really pushing it to its limit. So let's watch the tug approaching then. Here we go then. Let's just watch the pushback for a bit, shall we? We'll keep panning round, checking that we're still getting a steady FPS, no stutters, and then we'll hop back in shortly and get the engine started. That is such a cool livery. Love it. Okay then, let's get our engine started. So we need to switch some fuel pumps on first of all. So let's switch all our fuel pumps on and our centre tanks. Let's turn our engine starters on. Obviously the big advantage of the 787 is they have electric starters, so we don't need to use compressed air from the APU, so we can switch both engines on at the same time. So that's all firing up. Let's take a look at engine 1. Looks like we've got a good start there, and engine 2 is looking good as well. Okay, let's hop back outside and just monitor our pushback a bit more so I know when to make our turn. And touch wood, I have to say, it's still all looking pretty smooth. There's a fair bit of weather around. Let's start our turn now. So we want nose to the right, so
Ground ANA 107
we'll steer
requesting
to the
pushback
left.
tug to steer the aircraft to the left.
ANA 107, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
And as I mentioned in my intro, the scenery is very complex, so even just panning round like this in the previous update would have caused the Xbox all kinds of problems. So thus far, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing, I have to be honest. But I guess the true test will be when we start taxiing out, so let's stop pushback.
Ground ANA 107 requesting the end of pushback.
ANA 107, request to end pushback received.
And parking brake set. And I'll just turn off my performance calculator, we don't need that at the moment. And let's take a look at our before taxi checklist. Anti-ice set to auto, check. We'll do a quick recall. Auto brake set to RTO for takeoff, and we'll just check that recall. And flight control surfaces then, let's click the system, and we will go full forward, full back, full right, full left, and a quick pump on the rudders, all looking fine. Let's have a look outside as well. Love the animations of these, look at that, all good. And on the left side as well. Okay, so our flight control surfaces are checked, so let's go back to our checklist. So flight control surfaces checked, ground equipment clear, and the APU can go off. And that is our before taxi checklist complete. Okay, so we are about ready for taxi then, so let's get our taxi lights on. And parking brake released. And let's give it a bit of thrust to get us rolling. Okay, so this is the first real test then of the plane actually moving, and I can tell you I've never experienced this particular aircraft on this particular airport so smooth. If I did ever get to taxiing, it would be like an absolute slideshow, so this is looking very smooth, so I am impressed. And even then, when I'm sort of looking left and right around the cockpit, I can feel the difference. That would be really jerky, so I don't know what they've done. It seems to be working though. And we'll just have a quick look left and right as we taxi out to runway 16 right. Again, a really nice smooth turn. I've also been doing a bit of reading up on the msfs forums, and I've actually switched on 8 GB of rolling cache, which I normally have disabled, but apparently that also helps with stability, so I've decided to give it a go. As for other settings, I have real world traffic and multiplayer switched off for this video, and I have real-time weather turned on, and that is about it. I probably will run some further tests with the multiplayer server switched on, but for the purposes of today, I think we'll try and keep it as smooth as we can. And I am actually taxiing a little bit hotter than I normally would, just to see if I can make it lag or stutter. But thus far, it's been pretty flawless, so yeah, I'm impressed. Again, just looking round, there's no major dips in FPS. Also, just looking out in front of us, there is a fair amount of weather around. That normally has quite a bit of impact on the FPS as well, so something to bear in mind. Okay, so we are just approaching our hold short for runway 16 right, so I'm going to bring it to a bit of a halt here whilst we go over a few final checks before takeoff. Okay, yep, the brakes work quite well. That wasn't a stutter, that was my braking. Okay, so landing lights on, runway turn-off lights on, taxi lights off, and let's give the cabin crew a quick bong. And let's have a look at our before takeoff checklist, which is basically set our flaps for takeoff. So we'll select flaps 5, and that is our before takeoff checklist complete. There we go. Let's just increase the range on our nav display. Okay, parking brake released, and let's line up. I always like to look out of my sort of side window as I'm lining up, especially in the 787 where you just need to oversteer it a little bit because the nose wheel is quite far beneath us. So as long as you keep your eye through that first side window, as we bring it round it should be pretty much on the centre line. That's not too bad. Right, let's bring it to a stop, and we're just going to hold it on the brakes, and we'll go sort of 40% on the thrust, downward nose wheel pressure, and brakes released, toga. Okay, this is the true test, let's go. Those Rolls-Royce engines sounding absolutely sensational. That's 80 knots. Just holding that centre line. Oh, that was our first stutter. Rotate. Oh, and another slight stutter. It's all falling to pieces, is it? Positive rate, gear up. Seems to have settled down a bit. It's better. Nope, another couple of little stutters. Yeah, that feels a bit laggy. Let's engage our autopilot. That's actually feeling better again. I think it's settled a bit now. And let's go overhead and turn our runway turn-off lights off. Yeah, and even just looking round again now, I can feel that's recovered. It's not lagging at all now. So it might have just been as we were sort of departing and climbing away from Narita. It got a little bit too much for the Xbox, I think. Look at that. I'm actually really happy with that level of detail beneath us as well. That's looking pretty good. And I think I'm going to leave it about there for today, guys. That concludes my performance test on Sim Update 15 for Microsoft Flight Simulator on the Xbox. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.